The big news today is that Mitch McConnell has revealed, ta-da, a new Trumpcare proposal to repeal and replace the Affordable Care Act. The new one is still bullshit. I was trying to think of the right word. And the hardcore right-wingers in the Senate will never support it because the new act keeps a pair of taxes on high-income people that these Republican demons had planned to eliminate. Now, I guess they're going to use the taxes on high-income people. I don't know. Oh, I know what they're going to use it for. They're going to use it to buy off the senators in the states like Alaska, like West Virginia, like Mississippi, like Louisiana, that desperately need the extended Medicaid that came with Obamacare. Because the governors and senators in these states are fully aware that even though they're Republican fuckheads, they're still fully aware that they run their states in such a shitty way, they and their Republican legislatures, that the citizens of the states are in desperate shape. These governors don't bring in jobs, they don't bring in health care, they don't bring in hope. They do nothing but squat in their various state houses and talk shit. That's all they do. But they understood one reality that they don't want to test, and that is with the millions of people in their states who depend on extended Medicaid, it's the only health insurance they've ever had. And now these Republican swine want to take it away from them. Well, these governors and senators understand, especially the governors, that if it is taken away from them, and another 22 million people are left without health care, some of the people in these states just might lose it completely and come after these governors and senators in a very real way. I mean, when you have children, a child or a couple, or you have a population where so many of the kids, because of the shitty way you run your state, Governor, so many kids are desperate for medical care for a number of reasons. And up until the Affordable Care Act, the parents of these children could not get the medical care they desperately needed. And they had to watch their kids suffer, and so many of them die. So along comes Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, and these pissy white people who were forced to watch their children stay sick and die, although they didn't like Obama, they had no fucking idea that Obamacare and the Affordable Care Act were the same thing. So some of these people, of the millions of these people, all of a sudden had a chance for health insurance, which would open up the doors for health care, and they took advantage of it. Because the governors of their states, whether they're Republican or Democrat, understood that if the citizens of their states did not get some medical attention, there might be open, bloody revolution. I mean, how long can people put up with this shit? How long can us common folk watch the 1% in this country have a fucking lifestyle that we'll never have? And gloat about, well, fuck you people, you 99%, we don't give a shit about you. We don't give a shit about you, never have, never will. How long can people continue to watch that and experience it, especially when they don't have the essentials, enough food, the proper food, health care, a decent place to live, and a decent job? That's all the average American has ever wanted. That's what the unions gave people, by the way, a decent job, which led to buying your own home, maybe sending your kids to college, taking care of grandma and grandpa when they get too old. And these fucking Republicans come into office and snatch it all away. And for some god-awful reason, which I will never understand, people keep voting in Republicans. Republicans who enjoy cutting their constituents' throats and watching them bleed. I can't get my mind around why people do that. I mean, vote in these devils. The devils themselves, yeah, they love to cut people's throats and watch them bleed. That's fun. Ask that little prick Sean Hannity. Ask Rush Limbaugh. Anyway, with this new bill that's going to go nowhere, the turtle, Mitch McConnell, Republican of Kentucky, and let me tell you something about Kentucky. Kentucky is one of the states that has had absolute success in pulling hundreds of thousands of people out of the shit and the slime where it concerns health insurance, health care. And now McConnell wants to take it away from his own people. I don't get that. Anyway, with the revised bill that this asshole has come up with, McConnell is trying to keep alive this quixotic 7-year quest that these Republican devils have been on to dismantle the health care law for one very important reason. It was Obama's idea. Well, actually, it wasn't Obama's idea. It was a Republican idea to begin with. It came from the Heritage Foundation, the Republican governor of Massachusetts. You know, Mittens, before he ran for president, it was in his state. Now, he tried to veto it, but his legislature said, fuck you, we're going to have this. Before the Affordable Care Act ever went into effect on a nationwide basis. So the idea is a Republican idea, a Heritage Foundation idea. That's why it's bullshit. It works, Obamacare works, but it's still bullshit because it's still based on profit. It's based on profit and, oh no, no loss, just profit. The time may come when this country finally wakes up and gets single payer. But anyway, even though it was a Republican idea, Mitch McConnell and these other Republican devils in the House and the Senate are spooked and freaked out because it was an Obama legislative push that got it done. And remember Mitch McConnell, this freaky son of a bitch, at the very beginning, he said, well, what we're going to do is try to make sure that Barack Obama only has one term. He's a one-term president. Yeah. So the 7-year saga by these Republican devils to dismantle the Affordable Care Act is being done simply because it's a pillar of former President Obama's legacy. We're not going to have no Negro, have no legacy in this country. I could just hear Mitch McConnell saying, McConnell is a racist fuck. And don't tell me because he's married to Elaine Chao, a Chinese American, that makes him a non-racist. Bullshit. He's a selective racist. Now, Republicans are out there talking about their new shit bill, and they said it would provide roughly $70 billion in additional funds that states could use to help reduce premiums, hold down out-of-pocket costs, and otherwise make health care more affordable. Now, the bill in its original form already included more than $100 billion for those purposes. Why did it go up $70 billion? Because all you need is a calculator, just a handheld calculator, and information about how many people live in the state, how many people are on Medicaid, what are the costs of procedures, total it up, and you realize that $170 billion is horseshit. It doesn't mean anything. These are numbers that are trotted out by these Republican devils to try to impress the poor folk back home who are just hoping against hope that Medicaid expansion stays in effect. Because if it doesn't, they're fucked. And worse, their children die. And Mitch McConnell at this point holds in his grubby, fat-ass little sweaty hand the lives of God knows how many children whose parents finally have gotten them health care under Medicaid expansion. And this dirty fucker McConnell is going to take it away. Now, the new bill, just like the earlier version, would convert this Medicaid expansion from an open-ended entitlement. And I hate that word entitlement. I mean, it's like somebody's giving these folks something for free. These people who are on Medicaid pay and pay and pay. You know how they pay? They may not pay with money. They pay with anxiety and fear. They pay with the horrific burden of watching their children be sick or their husband or their wife, and they can't do anything. That's how they pay. So it's not a fucking entitlement. It's a human right to have access to health care. Let's take Mitch McConnell and strip this son of a bitch of all the entitlements he has since he works in the Senate and he's a white man. Let's take it all away from him. Every single financial or institutional support that this turtle-looking son of a bitch has ever had his entire life. Take it all away. And watch Mitch McConnell wind up sitting on a curb someplace with a grocery store push basket full of his belongings. So the new bill would convert Medicaid from an open-ended program to a system of fixed payments to states. In other words, here's the money, state X. Here's the Medicaid money. We'll give it to you. And you put it in a fund, and as your population needs it, we'll leave it up to you to decide who gets it and how to dole it out to people. This would be a great way to get votes, wouldn't it? What, your kid's dying of Lyme disease? Oh, motherfucker, really? Okay, I'll get you some health care, but don't you forget to vote Republican because I'm going to save your kid's life. Until that fund runs dry. It's a fixed amount, not open-ended the way Medicaid should be. Now, there is a provision in this right-wing bullshit that in the event of a public health emergency, and who's going to determine that, right? State Medicaid spending in a particular part of a state would not be counted toward the spending limits. The spending limits are known as per capita caps. Per capita. Individual caps. So this new plan will put a dollar value where it concerns health care on mom's life, dad's life, baby's life. Your life is worth X amount of dollars. If you exceed that, well, go talk to your preacher. This new bill from these Republican doubles would also allow the insurance companies, under certain conditions, to offer health plans that did not comply with the standards of the Affordable Care Act. Under the Affordable Care Act, you see, insurance companies have to sell regulated health plans through a public insurance exchange in each state. No more. I think this is the Ted Cruz law, or amendment. Now, a summary of McConnell's bill that's circulating on Capitol Hill describes his proposal this way, okay? If an insurer offered what is called sufficient minimum coverage on the exchange, it remains subject to federal mandates in the Affordable Care Act. The insurance company could also offer coverage outside the exchange that would be exempt from many of those mandates. Now, what does that mean? It means the insurance companies can come up with policies now that are as useful as a roll of toilet paper. Maybe not quite as useful. In other words, deductibles completely out of sight for the average family that needs Medicaid. Co-pays that are completely out of sight for the average family that uses Medicaid. And caps. Remember what I said about the caps? Well, Miss Citizen, your child is worth up to this point. If you go beyond it, go talk to your preacher. And that piece of human waste, Ted Cruz, Republican of Texas, had pushed, and it got accepted, to allow these stripped-down plans that are worthless. They'll take money from people, but it doesn't provide insurance coverage to the degree that it would be needed. Cruz has called the inclusion of his provision, quote, very encouraging. Cruz said on a radio station interview, quote, I think we're making serious progress toward coming together and unifying our conference and getting a bill that can command the support of at least 50 senators and pass into law. He added this, quote, I think failing to get this done would be really catastrophic, and I don't think any of the Republican senators want to see failure come out of this. End quote. What is failure to these devils? What constitutes failure? You know what failure would be? I mean, really serious failure? Single-payer health care. That would be a nightmare. You know, Medicare for all. What Bernie Sanders has been advocating, what I've been advocating, a lot of people have been advocating for a very, very long time. In other words, to join those nations like Israel, Canada, England, France, most of Europe, that consider affordable health care, affordable health insurance, a joke, and instead have Medicare for all, where it's paid for out of taxes. If the tax rate has to go up 1%, who the fuck cares? If your child is close to dying and you need health care, are you going to sit there with this ugly bastard Mitch McConnell and argue about a tax increase? And whether that tax increase is moral or immoral according to Republican non-ethics? No, you're not. According to the New York Times, people who enroll in these catastrophic health insurance plans would be eligible for federal tax credits to help pay premiums. And these plans typically have lower premiums and very high deductibles. But under the Affordable Care Act, consumers generally cannot use tax credits for such plans because they don't have to under the Affordable Care Act. And, hallelujah, the Republican bill, this new one, would allow, for the first time, would allow people to use health savings accounts, which are tax favored, which means you can put your money into a health savings account and it comes off your gross earnings, not your net. You don't have to pay income tax on it. You know, so you could use your health savings account to pay your insurance premium. And Republicans say this would increase health care coverage. How many people who are on Medicaid expansion, how many people who are on just standard Medicare, have the extra income floating around to put into a laughable, dumbass, stupid shit health savings account?